Dear audience, there are some kinds of love that don't need promises, don't need to be shown off loudly. They simply stand quietly in the background, watching over and sacrificing everything for the person they care about. Alex is exactly that kind of love. For years, he has given silently, waiting patiently. And today that love has turned into a gift that leaves everyone touched a house worth millions, not for himself, but for Tuna and little Henry. It's not just a gesture so sweet it brings tears, but also proof of a love strong enough to put someone else's happiness above everything. But will this silent love be received the way Alex hopes? Or could this gift hide an unexpected turning point that no one saw coming? The lights suddenly came on. Before the audience was a scene that left them silent. The sun was setting the sky glowing red like burning silk, and the last rays of light stretched endlessly across the still fields. In that golden haze of dusk, a figure slowly appeared. Alex. He stood there quiet, steady, his eyes fixed on the horizon. In that gaze was both unshakable determination and a fire that had never gone out. Every line of his face seemed touched by the fading light, carrying a dream he had held on to for years, a dream of a home. Not for himself, but for the woman he loved more than life, and for the child he had embraced as his own. And then the moment came. What once felt like a distant dream, a home worth millions, was finally real. But what moved everyone wasn't the value of the walls or the roof, it was the heart behind it. Alex didn't build this house to show off. He built it to give. Entirely to Tuna and Henry, the gift of a lifetime from a man who loved without condition. In the sunlit yard, Tuna appeared, gently holding Henry in her arms. She walked slowly beneath an old tree, her dress swaying softly with the breeze. Her face glowed with its own light, her warm smile enough to melt any heart. The baby giggled, reaching his tiny hands toward the world ahead. And when Tuna's eyes met Alex's, the moment froze. That look carried trust, gentleness, and a love so simple, yet so fierce, it made everyone's throat tighten. Music began to play soft and dreamlike. Alex walked forward slowly each step, carrying the weight of years of struggle. His voice trembled, but his tone was firm. The house. It's finished. Tuna looked up at him, her clear eyes shining like stars. Her voice was quiet but steady. I don't need much, just you. But if this is your dream, then I'll go all the way with you. In that instant, the world seemed to stop. Her words weren't just a reply, but proof of a rare kind of love. Alex had poured his youth and his heart into turning this dream into reality, making the house a symbol of sacrifice and unconditional devotion. When their hands finally clasped, what the audience saw wasn't just a house of wood and stone, but a home built with trust, with tears, with everlasting love. A love so powerful, it made you believe that no matter what storms lay ahead, they would face them together. Because sometimes, happiness isn't the destination, it's the journey of walking side by side. A journey where every glance, every hand held, every shared dream becomes a strength greater than any hardship. And in that burning sunset, the love between Alex and Tuna stood as proof of that simple but eternal. Out of nowhere, Alex sat quietly on the porch. His eyes followed Tuna, holding Henry in her arms, their peaceful image making his heart stir. And then, old memories came rushing back like an unexpected storm. That day, the rain poured down hard. The thatched roof was torn and leaking everywhere. Cold drops hit the cracked floor one after another, breaking through the silence of the night. In the damp corner, Alex saw Tuna, thin shivering, curling up to avoid the streams of water falling from above. His heart felt crushed. All he could do was hold her tight, using his own body to shield her. And deep inside, a vow roared to life: "I will never let you suffer like this again." That promise became the fire that fueled Alex through every single day, month, and year. Not just to build a sturdy house, but to give Tuna and Henry a safe haven, a complete happiness. And today, as the sunset bathed the yard in gold, with smiles glowing on the faces of the two people he loved most, Alex knew the promise he once made had finally come true. Inside the house, still carrying the scent of fresh paint, Tuna gently placed her trembling hand against the ivory wall. Her heart pounded, filled with surprise and overwhelming emotion. From those rainy nights with no roof strong enough to keep them dry to today, where a home worth millions stood before her, the past now felt like a distant nightmare, while the present was so beautiful it seemed unreal. Her eyes lingered on the windows, the furniture, every little corner touched by Alex's hands. Not just the hands of hard work, but of love, patience, and sacrifice. Tears began to fall, not the tears of hardship, but tears of joy bursting free. In that moment, Tuna realized this house wasn't just a place to live. It was the beginning of a new chapter, where she, Alex, and Henry would continue writing their story. As the sun faded, the warm lights came on, glowing like a lighthouse on the small street. Laughter echoed through the yard, mixing with the scent of fresh flowers along the path, and balloons of white and gold drifting in the breeze. The housewarming party began. Guests filled the home, marveling at every detail: the pure white walls, the elegant beige sofa, the large wooden table full of food. Amidst the joyful crowd, Tuna, wearing a light blue dress, held Henry in her arms, her radiant smile blooming like a flower after the rain. Yet deep in her eyes was still a trace of disbelief, as if everything happening was a dream she hadn't fully woken from. And then, under the music, the laughter and the cheers, one truth stood quietly but eternal behind all the beauty: was Alex's unwavering love. A love that had turned the cold rain of the past into the warm light of today. The lively atmosphere of the party suddenly froze as Alex slowly stood up. A soft light cast his shadow long across the white wall. His heart pounded, his breath trembled, but his voice rang out full of emotion. There was a rainy day. The roof above Na leaked everywhere. You sat curled up in the corner, shivering from the cold. Back then, I couldn't do anything. I just held you close and made a silent promise I would never let this girl suffer again. And today, I stand here to keep that promise. The entire hall went silent. Alex stepped forward, pulling out a shining silver key dangling from a heart-shaped ring. He knelt down, his eyes unwavering. This house isn't mine. It belongs to you, to Henry, to our little family. At that moment, Tuna burst into tears. Her radiant smile mixed with falling tears as she shakily reached for the key, then collapsed into Alex's arms. Henry clapped happily, and just like that, the hall erupted. Applause thundered, and many quietly wiped their own tears. Night fell. Outside, fireworks lit up the sky. Alex held Tuna and Henry's hands tightly. As the crowd counted down, 3, 2, 1, the sky exploded in color, reflecting on their glowing faces. The scene seemed frozen in time, a love that had survived leaky roofs and years of hardship, now blazing like a warm flame against the night. The camera closed in. On the small porch, the three of them sat together, Henry asleep in his mother's arms, Tuna resting her head gently on Alex's shoulder. He stared silently at the brightly lit house, whispering with a choked voice, "From now on, you won't suffer anymore. This will be our home, the everlasting love I've promised you." The shot slowly pulled back. On that quiet street, the new home glowed like a lighthouse, a symbol of a love that never gave up. A man's promise poured out from the depths of his heart. For the audience, it wasn't just a house. It was proof of love's power, a love strong enough to turn the tears of a rainy night into eternal light.